Hello, welcome to another edition of Prove All Things. Want to thank everybody who's joining us today, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or X, or in the CGI Digital Network app, whether that's on your phone, tablet, or television. We thank you for watching with us live. And for everyone else who's either listening to this as a podcast or watching later, thank you for joining us as well. I'm joined with co-host Mike James. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Jeff, doing well. Good to see you again. What's new in Georgia?
Uh, nothing much new in Georgia. Just I guess since the last episode we had, I guess we found out some of the damage that happened in Jamaica has been quite extensive from the hurricane that came through last week.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Jeff. If you give me a moment here, I just got a email from Stephen Scale, one of our elders in Jamaica.
Okay.
And since we're going to be talking about this later with our guest, I just want to give some details about this, Jeff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Stephen, again, he's an elder with the Church of God International in Jamaica. I know him very well. I've met him, talked to him. So this is a known commodity. And here's what the latest is for anybody interested. Again, the western side of the island received the brunt of the damage, and some of it was very extensive. Category 5 hurricane, again, coming in on an island like that. I've been there a number of times. You're just going to get tremendous damage. Yeah. And no one in the CGI church has died from what they know right now. We do have a church building on the western side of the island in Maroon Town. That's within St. Elizabeth. And it received extensive damage. The roof caved in. There's water damage to the floor and walls. The windows were blown out. Again, they're estimating the repair costs. They're looking at that right now. Members on the western side of the island, 3 members' homes had their roofs blown off and their houses sustained tremendous damage. Again, they're working on repair estimates there. And then some of the brethren in Maroon Town had damage to their homes, not as extensive as the 3 I mentioned just before. And again, they're looking at everything there. But what they're trying to do in Jamaica right now, we've got a big presence on the eastern side of the island. That's where most of our folks are in Kingston. But again, we've got other churches in other places, like I said, Maroon Town. And Kingston's trying to get bottled water, solar power banks, gasoline, tarpaulin, non-perishable food items, toiletries, disposable plates and utensils and garbage bags. And they're trying to move all of that to help out our brethren on the western side of the island. And Jeff, what we've done in CGI USA is we've set up a program where if you want to help, what we are suggesting is just send a check directly to church headquarters. Again, maybe we can put that address on the Tim Street address when you get a chance, Jeff. But people can I had this question come up, Jeff. Hey, can I send money online? Yes, you can, but believe it or not, our office manager is out this week. So please send me an email and I will connect you with the office manager, because if you're going to go to our donate button online, we've got to let him know that it is specifically for the Jamaican cause, the hurricane relief. So
there's our address right there.
Yeah, thanks. There's the mailing address, folks, for checks. And just say in the check, and also put it in the envelope, that you want this check specifically for Jamaican hurricane relief. That needs to be said on the check or with a note within the letter when you send that to Tyler headquarters. And again, this is all tax deductible, so you'll get your receipt at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But if you want to donate online, please put my email up there, Jeff, and have people contact me via email. And then I'll get with you next week. And when our office manager is in, so we can let him know, hey, this is coming in online and this wants to go to Jamaican Relief directly. So those are a couple ways to help. We'll be collecting this month, and then we'll be sending one lump sum to our Jamaican church. We'll be putting it right in their bank. And again, they can use that money for all the things that I've just been talking about there. So thanks for letting me get that out there, Jeff.
Yeah, we were able in Atlanta to go ahead and send some money down there from directly from Atlanta Church, and we're taking up a local collection that we will send. And again, if our accountant doesn't get back in time, I could probably coordinate with the church to make sure they get the money quicker if we can, Drew, what we have in Atlanta. So we'll make sure that we can do all we can to make sure that the money gets to the people as quickly as we can get it to them.
So again, just for those of you out there, again, this is what we want to do as church brethren. This is part of the love of God. When these things arise, we need to step up to the plate and do what needs to be done. So thanks for letting us address that at the beginning here, Jeff.
Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and bring in our guest today, and a guest we've had several times before. I say this about everybody, but I mean it. He's one of our favorite guests to have.
I feel relaxed when he's on. Like I don't have to think about too many things because he's very loquacious and he puts you at ease. Yeah.
Yes.
Fellow podcaster. That's what does it.
Yeah. Right.
How's it going, guys?
Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you. Good to have you back. And I'll let Jeff pepper you at the beginning here.
Sure.
Again, good to have you back. If you could, just for people who don't know who you are, people who are new to watching us or listening to us online, let us know who you are, why you're here, and some background and maybe some background of yours in the church as well.
Sure. So I'm Daniel Russo. I'm on the board of directors of Church of God Network. We're a nonprofit headquartered in Albany, New York, which is where I am. We are aimed at serving the Church of God. We're not a church. We're not a teaching ministry. We're a service nonprofit. So we aim at connecting brethren, promoting service, fostering collaboration amongst various Church of God groups. The aim is to try to chip away at the divisions, try to bring a sense of family and community to the Church of God that should be there, but over time has ebbed and flowed and been lost on occasion because of the divisions and the splits. So we're trying to find non-threatening, productive ways to heal those breaches over time. And that's our sole purpose. We cater to anyone who believes the same core tenets that we list on our website. So, the Church of God has become sort of a colloquialism to refer to groups that in some way came out of Church of God Seventh Day and worldwide. But in reality, it's anyone who subscribes to the same core tenets we have. So that's in short what we do. I've been on here a few times so far. We got a podcast as well, not nearly as technical and tech savvy as Jeff here, bringing up graphics and images on the fly. That's pretty awesome. We gotta step our game up on that front.
Yeah, well, we have to do it live, so we have to be ready for all that.
Yeah, we're not that bold.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, good to have you back with us. And so let us know what is some of the things, maybe new things you're doing at Church of God Network, or some of the things you're really emphasizing right now at Church of God Network that we could maybe learn a little bit more about.
Sure. So the big one, and the one that's occupying our attention this week, and you guys just talked about it, is the response to the Jamaican hurricane. So we have a program called Within Your Gates, which is designed to respond to crises and disasters, whether it's natural disasters, whether it's personal tragedies, whether it's things like, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, there was a shooting in a Living Church of God congregation. I believe it was Wisconsin. It's anything like that. The principle being that when brethren are affected in one group, the whole Church of God should come to its aid. And to our credit as a community, that is one of the areas people are very much willing to work together on. We responded to the Southern California wildfires earlier this year and had a really successful response. We got over $100,000 raised from 10 different Church of God organizations, like from the actual orgs themselves, in addition to another 20 to 30 raised from individuals. So this is another occasion where we want to help respond. And part of it is information gathering and letting people from across the Church of God know, hey, there are brethren in this group that are suffering. Because what's interesting is that different groups have different sized presences in certain places. So when the wildfires hit Southern California, there were certain groups more affected than others. And here in Jamaica, you all, unfortunately, are more affected than most because CGI has a really big presence. Our understanding is Church of God Seventh Day has a pretty big presence, whereas some other groups have less so, or their presence, or they're in a particular part of Jamaica that's hasn't been hit as hard. So part of what we do with the Within Your Gates program is our team monitors disasters that are happening. So we have someone on our team who will be like, hey, Dan, just a heads up, there's a big hurricane about to hit Jamaica. Like, let's keep this in mind. I think currently there's a storm ready to hit the Philippines as well, where we have a lot of brethren historically in the Church of God. So that's part of it. Then when it does hit, it becomes, okay, there's a lot of information gathering now. Have brethren been affected? What group do they attend with? What's the nature of the damage? What is needed? How many funds are needed? And so that becomes reaching out to the local ministers, to headquarters if needed. And that's where you find out, okay, well, fortunately in this situation, Kagwa wasn't very hard hit. They don't have many brethren in need of assistance. They also have a fund for that as well. But in cases where a particular group has a large presence and either maybe they don't have the funds or maybe they do, but it would be helpful if they had financial assistance on that front too, then we would come in and say, well, we have some money we can donate. We could do a fundraiser. We have leadership contacts in other groups that would love to contribute to this. And it's about not only just providing money, but coordinating responsibly. Well, how much money is needed? What's the best way to get it to folks? Are there other things that could be needed? For example, would it be helpful to connect the brethren on the ground in CGI with brethren from another group who maybe are in a similar situation and they could come together in some sort of way? Maybe there's a way to help out on the ground. So it's really anything that could be done to help. We want to try help facilitate by leveraging our network of connections across the Church of God, but also in a very big way, financial assistance as well.
Hey, Daniel, if you could mention just a little bit, so I think because this relates to what happened with the California fires last year and then the response from Church of God Network. If you could just address that a little bit, just so people can really understand how you guys really did a big thing last year, I believe.
Yeah, and how many people did y'all end up helping?
Oof, off the top of my head, I mean, it was dozens of brethren. I want to say it's in the 30s, maybe more, of people affected who lost either their house or had a lot of smoke damage. Because that's the thing. I think one of the underrated parts of this is how hard it is to get information and sift through it. So there's the whole and be responsible at the same time. So there are folks who lost their house. There are folks who lost their house. And because of the situation in California, they had just been kicked off their home insurance months before. That's a whole different situation. There are people who had a lot of smoke damage. And I don't think you realize until you're in that situation how difficult and hazardous it is to remove smoke damage. And you can't live in the space while you do that. It's not good for one's health. So when the wildfires hit, and again, the big thing we try to do, we have programs, like I said, that help, that are aimed at the mission that I articulated before. But the foundation of the mission is We try to know as many people in the Church of God as possible, have good relationships, have friendships, trust, so that when things happen, we have an informational network to go to respond in whatever ways needed. So when the wildfires hit, we know a lot of people in that area, or who are in leadership of the organizations with a lot of people in that area. So we all got together and said, hey, how do we want to respond? It was decided that our Within Your Gates program was the best vehicle to do that, because the other leaders saw Church of God Network not only as a neutral third party, but hey, you are doing charitable work, and rather than us have to take the administrative time to navigate all this, we trust Church of God Network to be like, hey, we'll give you all a donation. You all do the admin work to figure out who's in need, work with the leadership on the ground, disperse the funds. So in many ways, what we do is also an operational support help for various groups who maybe don't have the administrative capacity to just on a dime focus on finding out what the needs are across different groups. They can just donate to this trusted program, and we could do that work ourselves. So we got together with the various leaders. We found out who was in need, the nature of the needs. We came up with a system for allocating funds, how to disperse them best. We worked with we got funds from 10 different church groups, and there were probably half a dozen or so different groups we provided aid to in terms of brethren from different groups, which is the big, again, to me, advantage of Church of God Network is few people nowadays have that many relationships or knowledge bases that cross group boundaries. So being able to realize, okay, well, this other group has a lot of people in this area, and this group here that maybe has funds that they want to give to this don't know that this group even exists. So that's part of it too, because there are a lot of groups that have either an assistance fund, or they've been blessed in terms of tithes and offerings, and they're like, hey, we would love to help brethren, we just don't know how to do it, who's in need, point us in the right direction. So that's a big way Within Your Gates helps. But again, it's primarily financial relief, but it's anything and everything that might be needed in a time of crisis, up to and including connections with individuals and people on the ground who could help.
Okay, very very good. So now, taking what you've learned from that experience, what is the plans as far as what you actually do to get this money to the folks who need it down in Jamaica?
Yeah, so the first thing is coordination with leadership, and have people who have information of what's going on the ground. So right now, and again, this is going to be our big focus this week in particular, now that I think a lot of the information is starting to settle and rise to the top. You mentioned estimates in terms of what's needed. So we're coordinating with folks like yourselves, with folks at Church of God Seventh Day. So far, those are the only two main groups we've identified with any sort of significant need. So coordinating with leadership to determine specifically how much is needed, what kind of support the groups are giving themselves. Like, a big thing people tend to do in times of crisis is just sort of overload people with stuff that may or may not be needed. So we want to be responsible on that front. How is it easiest to send the funds? Small things, but like how to give so that you're avoiding fees, right? Mike, you mentioned donating online.
Yeah.
That comes with a fee.
Right.
And so like maybe if you're giving $100, the fee's not huge in nature, but if you want to give a serious donation, like if an organization wanted to give 10 grand, that's a decent chunk of money that isn't going to the effort. So coordinating all the tiny things like that.
Yeah, if I could just speak to that real quickly, Daniel, because I deal with our brethren in Africa and Southwest Asia. So I'm always, not always, but at times I'm sending some money there to help out. And, you can go through Western Union or something called RIA Money Exchange. There's all these different money exchanges out there that have different fees. When you go bank to bank, though, you get hit with $50 fees or $100 fees. So if you're going to do these piecemeal deliveries of money, and you're paying a bank fee of $50 versus $7 to $10 with Western Union, that starts to add up. So again, when we know these little nuanced things, we can save the brethren some money by coordinating all this together, rather than just jumping out there and trying to assist immediately. So again, I just wanted to throw that little detail in there, having dealt with this over the years. And quickly to, I think, Life Lessons question, it was not because of doctrinal issues in answering your question. If you want more about that Life Lessons, shoot me an email.
Can you say what her question was, Mike, for people who are watching?
So she was saying that there's a rumor that CGI Medina is no longer part of CGI. That is true, but it's not about doctrinal issues. And there still are brethren, and we love the folks in Medina. It's more administrative type things, and I don't want to get into that right now. But please, Jeff, continue.
And so Dan, so you were saying that we'll be able to coordinate things. So are you going to solicit donations to Church of God Network to as a place that people can send those donations to?
Yeah. So what we will do after we get a little bit more information is, because there's sort of you figure there's going to be some basic level of need, but what we've seen, and this is a good thing, is there's probably gonna be a lot of people who are going to want to give. So having an idea of how much is needed, also being clear, like if we put a specific fundraiser up for the Jamaican effort, being clear to people, hey, this is any money given here is earmarked for this effort only. And if in a positive situation, if we collect more funds than are actually needed for the response, those funds will just roll over and stay in that program and be restricted. It's called restricted funds. They're going to be restricted for the Within Your Gates program. So if it's more that's needed for Jamaica, then the next time a crisis or disaster hits, those funds are going to be used for that. But having more information about what specifically is needed, what things will be going towards, also helps us when we go to our network of contacts to various Church of God groups and say, hey, just so you know, we are going to be coordinating an effort to respond to the Jamaican hurricane. If you want to give, here's what you can do, here's what it's being used for, because not only transparency, but like best practice, responsible stewardship, these are all things you need to consider when doing this. While at the same time, wanting to be sure that speed of delivery of assistance is prioritized, because there are folks who really need it right now.
Yeah, I was watching the news last night, and they've finally gotten into Western Jamaica, and they were, showing you on the ground what had happened there. And it was mind blowing to see the devastation on that side of the island. I've been to the western side. I've been to Montego Bay during feast time, leaving on a flight out of Montego Bay. I've been out of there, came in once that way too. That's the western side of the island. Most of the time I've been on the eastern side of the island. My wife's actually from Kingston, so been there a number of times. But when you drive out to other parts of the island, there aren't a lot of roads like in the U.S. And they had roads blocked, and they finally have gotten there, and you can really see what's happening.
I saw the drone shots that they showed of the damage, and it's comparable to F5 tornado damage in this in wide swaths of area where this total devastation that was there. But I've been to that part of Jamaica as well, and what I remember was just the roads weren't the best shape, so probably getting help is going to be just getting to those locations is definitely an opportunity that is there.
And that's the thing that I think people don't realize, is how many nuances there are to responding responsibly and knowing the unique conditions on the ground. Like, okay, well, the roads aren't as good, therefore it presents these challenges, right? And even with the wildfires in California, there are certain things, like one of the things we do is provide information. So, we got wind that California Edison was creating this fund for people who had lost their homes. And so, we let people know, just trying to keep people informed. And I was speaking to one gentleman, And I'm like, oh, by the way, just so you know, there's this fund. He goes, yeah, we've been advised not to take any funds from that because we're in an active lawsuit for it. And obtaining funds from there would affect the lawsuit. So like, there's always nuances in terms of things we don't consider, maybe
Right.
especially internationally, laws that might be on the ground, people who are responding. And so not cluttering up the situation and inadvertently making it worse is also part of the calculus.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've had some issues in the last few years in Tanzania and Kenya due to the governments in both those countries creating a lot of red tape for church organizations. And the reason that red tape was created was because, I'm not trying to make light of this, but there was a death cult in Kenya where a church leader had his people starve themselves to death. Hundreds of people died. And so the government of Kenya decided, hey, we need to do something about all of these Christian church organizations running around here. And then Tanzania began to do something similar because of that problem, which led to us having to, do a lot of paperwork in order to make our church groups in those countries legal and lawful. So there's always something going on that you need to be aware of. Yeah,
providing assistance responsibly is way more difficult than people realize. I mean, I might have actually mentioned it on this program before, but there's a documentary, Property Inc., about that chronicles how the West has done charitable, specifically foreign aid over the years, and how we're learning our lessons because, people's instinct is to provide all kinds of free stuff or just dump money or goods into a situation. And very often that could be just as detrimental as if you did nothing. Or things like, Kenya very famously has a cottage industry of fake or misleading orphanage scams very specifically. So being on the lookout for those, realizing that not only might those kids have been paid a few dollars for those pictures that were taken, but there might not be an orphanage at all, or there might be an orphanage, but the kids in the orphanage might have parents. They might have been sent to the orphanage because they see it as a way to have a regular source of food because the situation locally is so desperate. But also conversely, knowing that one of the issues, if you want to help locally, is that a lot of nations, especially in Africa, don't have well-established property rights. So access to capital, if you want to take out a loan to expand your business or something. And that's really important. That's helpful because very often people won't own the property. They don't have the sort of access to loans that we do in the States. So, there's a lot that goes into providing help. And even within the United States, there are all kinds of considerations to make. So that's what we try to do and take that burden off of church organizations that are already burdened with, the daily tasks of running a church organization and preaching and taking care of brethren. And
Yeah, I appreciate you telling the folks to do their due diligence when you're assisting folks in other countries. Again, having dealt with this for CGI for a number of years now, I learned some lessons from the first few years I was involved in this, and I've dealt with some Kenyans out there who were trying to scam me. And we definitely got a good contact in Kenya right now, helping out. We've got feet on the ground there. But yeah, I've experienced some of that. I'll give you one quick story, guys. I was dealing with someone in another country, and they were sending me photos, and they were writing up reports on what's going on, trying to build some rapport with them. So long story short, they sent me this picture of a giant crocodile that had been captured in the village this guy was in, or something along those lines.
Right.
So I did a little. That's at the point I was starting to do more research on all of this. And I found a picture, the same picture that was just out there on the internet that was being used by people in this country and other countries in that continent to try to get people to feel sorry for them. Everybody was going to the same picture and sending it out. So that really had me put on the brakes and realizing I got to take my time. I've got to do my due diligence. There are people out there that are trying to scam you, and you just got to do some work, preparatory work, before you start helping people. Because hey, this is whose world right now, and this type of thing is going on. Daniel, there's a question. I don't know if you can see it in the chat box from Life Lessons.
I'm gonna put it up here right here.
Yeah, there you go.
This is the CGN published audited annual reports as part of its transparency policy.
So we don't have reports published, for example, like we don't pay a CPA to audit us necessarily just because it costs a lot of money, but we do have to, as part of being a nonprofit, file a 990, and those are all public. So you could see how much money we pull in, how much money goes out. This year, actually, we will be publishing a more, it's no longer the smaller 990. We crossed the 250K threshold in revenue last year. So by law, we had to do a full 990 and get our finances reviewed by a CPA. So that more extensive one will be out there whenever that's completed. I think the filing deadline is November 15th. So I don't know, probably will be up on the transparency sites by the end of the year, beginning of next.
Okay.
Hey, Daniel, if you could just mention your day job, because I think you've got that background in this type of work. Just so people know, I think that would be good for people to know that you're an experienced guy in this field. I'll put it. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, so I worked for the first decade of my career in nonprofits of varying kinds, public policy organizations. I was at one that helped assist families of people with developmental disabilities for a bit. I went to graduate school for an MPA, Master's in Public Administration, for nonprofit management. And the last 2 years, maybe a year and a half, I've actually been self-employed completely for the first time. So my former boss, who I've worked with a long time, started a consulting firm, and I went with him as a consultant. And that firm consults with nonprofits. So I do that for a chunk of my time. I do CGN as part of that work, not necessarily through the same organization, but those are the two bits of my work life. So yeah, I've been in nonprofits exclusively in my career, and that's what I went to school for. So yeah, I'm in that work day in and day out.
Gotcha. Hey, Jeff, I think that this be a good time. I don't know if you can do this on the fly. Yeah. Could you bring up a couple scriptures?
I have one set up for you already, and I can do the other ones as we go. But let's see.
Okay. Here. Yeah. Great. Let me. Yeah, I just wanted to, get back to the Bible here when we're talking about this subject. I think it fits right in with what the Bible tells us to do when brethren are in need. How do we show that love? Yeah, great, Jeff. If you could read that, please.
Yeah, it says, this is James 1:27, pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction and to keep himself unspotted from the world.
Yeah, and I think this goes without saying. I think most people out there understand this. But what we do a lot on this program is we talk about theological topics, esoteric topics. We get into the minutia of what the Bible's telling us about prophecy and the holy days and the Sabbath. And that's all important. But I think the day-to-day living, walking the Christian life, this is an example of doing it, helping out your brethren when they've lost their roof, when they don't have water, they need clothing. That's where the rubber meets the road. What do you guys think, Jeff and Dan, on that kind of thing for a Christian?
Yeah,
Jeff, I'll let you go first. Okay.
Oh, you say me go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say, yeah. I mean, that's probably more important than some of the things we do is definitely helping others and because that's what pure religion is. Right. And if we're following God and if we're doing what God wants us to do, we should be helping others, especially those the list there, widows and orphans. Those are the ones who really can't help themselves especially at that time. They couldn't really help themselves, and so we got to help folks who are in situations where they need this help. and we can do that for them.
Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot the last year or so, but there seem to be these conversations within the Church of God about, oh, well, there's the Sabbath and the holy days and the commandments, and then there's fruits of the Spirit, how we treat each other, character building. Like, oh, what's more important? And I'm like, oh, you need both. Like, you can't separate the two. Like, the fruits of the Spirit are just as much commands as the Sabbath and holy days, and vice versa. Like the obeying God, keeping His commandments is on par with the part of the character building process. So these things are inseparable, and I think part of all this as well, it's not just about providing aid to folks, but at least what we hope is that there's the ancillary benefit of, you hinted at, an administrative decision leading to a new organization being formed. It's like, okay, well, this stuff happens in the Church of God. How do we focus on just outward service and doing good, and not necessarily focusing on those things, but there are brethren who are in need. Let's help out. Let's respect the leadership, who not only respect the leadership of that organization we're trying to help, but like go through them because they know the situation on the ground best, and just focus on outward service or outward provision of help, right? Because this is a service thing that we do, but we try to also create resources for people to use, grant programs that help fund certain things. How do we take a posture towards healing divisions that is completely outward focused and not, I think a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, not only because I think it's part of how our community thinks sometimes, but I'm also to empathize with Mike here. Like I'm a Northeasterner, so this is sort of part of our DNA, but sometimes there's this desire to try to convince someone of something or change their mind on something, but that's not our responsibility. All we can do is have faith in God working out people's conversion with them, and trusting in that, but working on ourselves and showing outgoing concern. So that at Church of God Network, we're trying to just, all the unity building efforts we're doing, we want them to be outward focused and serving in nature, and not trying to like convince anyone to do anything they don't already want to do.
And sometimes maybe their only way to see Jesus is see it through us, right? Because and that is a command that we have to follow. This helping others. It's I think just as much as the Sabbath or anything else, helping others is definitely, we can see it in Scripture as something that Christians are obligated to do.
Love God and love man. Well, how do you love your neighbor? I think that this is how you do it. Okay? This is one way to love your neighbor.
I got your next scripture up if you want to get to that.
So there you go. Go ahead, Dan. How about you reading that one?
Right as I'm taking a drink. Okay. Matthew 22, 37 through 39. Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
So again, guys, I'll let you comment too. But when I think of, loving myself, it's like, well, I want to have a roof over my head. I want to have clothing that I can wear out in the cold or whatever. I want to have enough to eat each day. Those are the basic necessities of life that, you try to provide for your family and your friends. But again, if we got that handled, we want to start looking out and see what else we can do with our neighbor, because the gospel can be seen through what your extension of love is to others. I think that's a tremendous example of the gospel. And I'll give you examples. What did Jesus do in his earthly ministry? Oh, yeah, he was preaching and teaching, but he was also raising people from the dead. He was giving sight to the blind. He was helping the cripples walk again. So again, I see that part of his ministry right along with, I think, what Jeff said earlier, went along with it, telling the Pharisees, hey, you don't understand this Sabbath commandment exactly correctly here. Any comments, guys?
Well, I mean, I think it's hilarious. Again, it's part of the same conversation, but these are all principles echoed from the beginning of Scripture. Deuteronomy is heavy with these scriptural references. That's what God has always wanted from his people. What he wanted from Israel is just, I want you to, these are my commandments. This is my way of life, but I want you to love me with your whole heart. I want you to do these things because you love me, not because it's about rote obedience, because you love me and you love those around you, and you don't, and you walk humbly before me, because part of, I think, the difficulty we face is so often, to your point, Mike, we make it about ourselves, and we stop trying to have relationships with or help other people in the Church of God because of things that person has said or done, as opposed to real love, which is not concerned with that. You know, I should ideally be concerned with myself and getting myself right before God and just serving outwardly. And if someone else was whatever, it did something to me that I don't like, or said something I don't like, that's between them and God. You know, there are a few times where it rises to the level where you need to go to them, you need to follow Matthew 18. There might be times where you might need to remove people, but that's the minority of occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, I had one more scripture. Maybe.
Yeah, I got it ready. Got it ready.
Okay.
Well, yeah. If I get a few seconds, I can get it up there. Here we go.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff, for doing this on the fly, too. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'll let you read that one since it's so long.
Yeah, I'll have to make it big for me to read it here. All right. And Matthew 25:40-45, it says, "And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it to the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. Then shall I say unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall he answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer to them, saying, Verily I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of these least of these, you did it not to me."
Yeah, I mean, that really hits me between the eyes, on the forehead. You know, I go back to that scripture a lot. I used to have a picture when I was growing up, even before I was in the church. I had a picture of a kid starving in Ethiopia, I think, and I put it on my bulletin board just to remind me how lucky I was every day. And I think that we forget how lucky we are in the United States. Listen, I've been to Thailand, I've been to India. I've seen some things you don't want to see in how people are living each and every day that'll blow your mind if you have not been to those places. And, you know, knowing that, we got to reach out and help people in a smart way, no doubt about it. I totally have come to understand that over the last few years, but this is something we got to do.
Yeah, and the one thing to realize that we have to know is that we can't help everybody, but that doesn't mean that since you can't help everybody, you can't help somebody, and you shouldn't help someone.
Yeah,
and do your part to help someone,
and that more people couldn't be helped. Like, I think that's part of what we want to do, is that what you see in the Church of God now, because of the splits, is that resources aren't always allocated ideally. So there might be a situation that could use more funds and there aren't enough there.
Yeah.
And our goal is, if we know the situation everywhere and know that, okay, well, this group has more funds they would like to contribute, but they don't currently have a use for it now, to put them in contact with the areas where the resources are needed to sort of bring some efficiency, eliminate redundancy from the situation. And I think, to both of your points, when we've existed in a situation in the Church of God that can become discouraging with the splits, or I think we tend to get stuck potentially in a negative mindset around those things. And I get it. It could be discouraging. It helps to be able to just put your head down and do good, to do something positive, to not be, it's going to sound like I'm running a corporate meeting, but to not be problem focused, but solution focused, you know, like to take a positive outlook on those things. Because if we truly know, understand, and have internalized that God is in control. God is in control, and He's in charge, and His plan is going to work out regardless. Then that's quite a hope. All we can do is what we can do, and so try to get out of the discouraged mindset and be a positive influence around the people around us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Hey,
we have a question. I
yeah.
want to bring up.
So what that can be done. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, I'm going to try to look for that information
Yeah,
right
I
now.
have that. I have that information,
Okay.
and there was like 3 different ways to send money, and for me, I was like, I chose the easiest way, which was
Yeah.
Zelle, and so the Zelle way, I was able to send the money we had directly to them through Zelle, and so no fees were encountered in that, so it worked out
Yeah.
really well. So
So that,
what we can do is in our app, we will post the PDF of this. Of their information they needed as part of this program. So we can attach the PDF to this program. And do you have something you can share, Mike? Possibly.
yeah, you know what, Jeff? I'll tell you what. Let's see if yeah. So what I'll do, Jeff, I'm going to send you an email right now, Jeff, that's got the bank. Well, what I'll do is I'll send this information to William. I know William. He joins us on a regular
Yeah.
basis. So I will send that email directly to William.
Mhm.
If anybody else wants the straight bank information, put up my email there, Jeff, and shoot me an email, folks, and I will give you the bank to bank info, which I do have in an email. Yeah.
Yeah. If Let me go ahead and find that form real quick. I have so many different tabs to go through to get to
Yeah.
this stuff. Here we
Yeah,
go.
that's the thing with
Yeah.
emails. Sometimes I hesitate to say, where did I put that email?
All right. So
But
yeah,
I can
email
see
the
this
mic.
one.
And what I'll also do is like I will put the PDF that was sent to me, the information that was to send directly. I'll put that in our app. I'll even on the Prove All Things website. I'll put it underneath. I'll put it like a link to it right underneath the program this week, so people can
Right.
like click on it and get that PDF for the information if they want to directly send. But again, they can also send Church of God Network or CGI. Will definitely all working towards the same goal, which
Yep.
is helping the brethren.
Yeah, definitely. And as we got about 10 to 12 minutes left here, Daniel, I know we wanted to focus on the Jamaica situation and, connect that to what Church of God Network is doing. In our remaining time, I know that I now get a kind of like, is it a monthly note or how often do you guys send that note out? Tell us a little bit about if people want to get more involved with Church of God Network. I know you've got like a volunteer program in different cities. If you maybe could speak a little to that. And anyway, if people want to help you with your idea and what you guys are doing, what could they do?
Yeah, so there are a number of ways you can keep tabs on what's going on with us. We have a website, churchofgodnetwork.org. We have a bi-weekly newsletter. So every couple of weeks, we send one out, like a mid-month update, and then sort of a monthly recap of what's going on. We don't spam your inbox or anything. We also are on social media. So we are on Instagram and Facebook, where we put updates on what's going on there. We have a very robust schedule of things we post there. We have a podcast, which folks can listen to on any of the major podcast platforms. We have a video version on YouTube as well. And in terms of how people can help, we have a get involved page or a how you can help page. So we recognize people have varying levels of time to commit or resources to commit. So we tried to create a page that outlines the things that are helpful to the mission as we see it, or helpful to us as we see it. So there's a whole list of things you can do on the how you can help page. Telling people about Church of God Network to help spread the mission and its goals is always helpful. Like any nonprofit, donating is how we fund our program, so that's always helpful. But anything that you can do to advance the mission of building community and connection and unity among God's people is the key. I mean, not to make it sound overly simplistic, but building relationships, cultivating friendships across groups, showing people love. Don't underestimate the power of doing that in a concerted way over time. And for folks that have a real passion for doing that and want to be a connector in their area, we have what you referred to, Mike, which is our CGN local contacts program, which is we have a network of individuals who, the way myself and the board members try to know as many people as possible throughout the Church of God on the national and global scale, we realize not everyone has that time or energy or bandwidth to do it. So, but if you want to do that equivalent locally, that's enormously helpful, because if you are in, let's just take where I am. I'm in Albany, and if I know everyone in the Church of God in Albany, I know a lot of people, either because I've lived here for, X number of decades, or because I love visiting people and building connections, then you become an enormously helpful resource to us, because if there is a crisis or disaster in your area, or if something impactful is happening, or a way Church of God Network can help, we have someone on the ground who has solid, established, loving relationships who is trusted by the people on the ground. So they're a good conduit for us to help, and they're a good conduit for people on the ground to send information to us. And we have over 40 local contacts throughout this country, and several others as well. And we're developing quite a robust network, not just for informational purposes, but you get wind of really positive things that are happening. You get wind of people in need who you wouldn't otherwise, or leaders who are sympathetic to the cause that all of a sudden we could reach out to and build relationships with. Like, networking, relationships, information, I think is important. We don't underestimate the power of that in staying connected as a people, given the situation we're in currently.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hey, one thing I wanted to mention, Daniel, and I'll go ahead and put it on the screen just because this is something that I was really appreciative that the Church of God Network helped in our local area this summer, and it was for our summer camp that we had, and that we very appreciative to that. And if I can get that to show the, I don't know if I can show the screen. Hold on. I'm trying to share. All right. Can you see it
can
now?
do it.
All right, but well, never mind. But anyways, the if anybody wants to find more information, it's sl2sl.org. But that was, we couldn't have done it without the Church of God Network, kicking in to help us out, because it was a lot more expensive than we thought it would be.
What does that stand for, Jeff? What is that?
It's Searchlight to Spotlight.
Okay, what does that mean? I don't even know what that's about.
All right, well, yeah, Searchlight is basically we're shining a searchlight on kids to see what gifts they may have that can be developed, and Spotlight is now letting them show those gifts and serve those gifts. So, like what we did at camp is we were able to have a searchlight for some kids who may help in church services that week, and then we had them run the entire church services on that Sabbath for us at camp. Give little messages and lead songs and stuff like that. So that's basically what it's about. But again, I'm very appreciative to Church of God Network for their help. And we brought 3 churches together in Atlanta to do this, and we formed some really good relationships from this, and I'm grateful for that. For that we're able to do that, and we're doing it again this next year. Where we had 40 kids this year, we'll have up to 80 kids this next year. It's going to be.
Yeah, I heard about that camp, and I know that there are people from out of state that are interested in it now, more so because of the success.
Yeah,
you guys
I don't have to advertise. I didn't have to advertise last time. We filled up without advertising. Like, I was like, I don't know if I'll advertise it all this time, because the word of mouth is what's filling up the slots at the camp. So it's definitely good. And thank you, Dan, and your organization for your help with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one other thing, Dan, I forgot to mention to you was that Lemmy McGarity, who puts together those Unity of the Spirit conferences. Well, again, I went to speak at one of those Unity of the Spirit conferences where they try to bring people from different church organizations together in one place. It was in Montgomery, Alabama this year. And in talking to him there, he wanted to try to do something up in New York City, So my contacts there, I made some calls this last week. So I've got people connected, but people told me up in New York, I'll mention it to Dan to see if he wanted to get involved in that. So they're going to try to do something in New York City next year, Dan. So I'm just giving you a heads up since it's in New York City and you're in upstate New York. If you want to connect in any way with that, just let me know.
100%. Yeah, Lemmy's a good guy. He's one of our local contacts down there, and he mentioned that he wanted to do some things outside the local area he's currently in. But yeah, I do think what you guys do in Atlanta, Jeff, like those are the test cases for this in terms of locally, the trust built locally between brethren, between the leaders. Trust is the linchpin. And so in the areas where you see this happening most, it's the areas where trust is being built. And, sometimes folks have the temptation to go big first and go like, oh, well, we need to get everyone to buy in. Well, just take slow, concerted steps locally and it will grow into it. Like if you take that, have a really good foothold and take incremental progress over time, you're going to see a lot of progress. If you shoot too big too soon, it might fizzle out.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love what you just said. Again, when you're dealing with people who are trying to get back up on their feet, you tell them, hey, start with one little thing. Get that going, get the momentum of just working on that one thing and then expand.
Yeah.
So great advice.
Yeah. Again, and part of what I really do like is because of your organization, we were able to make these connections here in Atlanta, and it feels like now I have a much larger church community that I'm a part of, a lot more friends in the church, and it's a good thing that we developed this, and so hopefully that we'll see that. Maybe that's the future of the Church of God. Because again, we don't know what it's going to be like, but we know it's going to be young people. They're going to have to decide what the future of the Church of God is going to be. And I hope the future of the Church of God is that working together on things and having that community of people out there that people can be a part of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got 2 minutes left, guys. Any last items?
Any last thoughts you have, Daniel, you want to bring up? And I'll put your website up there one more time.
Sure. Yeah, I could just plug some stuff that's coming. We're in the middle of redoing our website, making it a little cleaner, fixing some stuff over the years, and also building some new resources. So if folks want to think about what we do in terms of sort of buckets or categories, the foundation of everything is what you just said, Jeff. It's connecting people. It's knowing as many people as possible, building relationships and trust. But in terms of what we do programmatically, we create a bunch of resources for people to use. People might have used our congregation map. We have an archive of Church of God, anything out there in the Church of God, websites, ministries, and stuff like that you can search. There's like a master search function. We're building an events calendar so people can keep up to date with events that are open to all groups. We have a partnership with several organizations. We have a partnership with a company that makes youth education materials. We're going to do new ones for Church of God specific greeting cards, both physical and electronic. There are groups that do that. And that's also something we're trying to integrate into.
Wait, what do you mean greeting cards? Are you talking like cards for like the Feast of Tabernacles and Passover and those type of things?
Yeah, it could be. So Covenant Concepts. So a good friend of mine, Gary Johnson, he started making these physical cards for things like that. And then Cards of Ministry, which is the project of someone actually not too far away from me in Massachusetts. It's electronic cards. So it could be anything from the Feast of Tabernacles and Holy Days. It could be if someone's ill. What Church of God Network is going to actually start doing is incorporating it into these Within Your Gates things, where if people are going through crises, or even just personally, if someone had the death of a loved one or is a mobility impaired and can't visit brethren often, we want to give people an easy way to be able to get these things to people so that people have human connection in the Church of God. They don't feel disconnected. They don't feel lost in the shuffle. Because we've heard anecdotally that happens quite a bit. And we've also heard of the power of getting cards in times of crisis, in times of illness. Like we've seen it completely shift people's perspective as to, being more proactive on the unity front, because when they were sick, they got cards from a lot of different kinds of people. So that's part of it. So we have the resources, we have programs, which is Within Your Gates. We have a program that connects organizations with operational and support help called Mission Assist. So we help folks build websites. We provide best practice articles. We will do contract work for groups for larger projects if needed. That's all Church of God specific professionals on the team. And then we have grants, like you mentioned, Jeff. So funding cross group projects that are service projects, that are fellowship projects, anything like that. And so those are the main buckets of things that we do. And so if anyone interested in more information, you could go to the website. You can contact myself. If you've got Jeff or Mike's contact information, you can reach out to them. They have my information. So just always appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for being a part of this today. It's definitely a good conversation. Conversation, I guess, with some seriousness, that we definitely have a situation of some brethren in need, but we can do something to help them, and we will do something to help them. And we just have to all pull together, which is I guess the mission of the mission. I think of should be the mission of all the Church of God people, is pulling together.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. With all the splinters and breaks,
Yeah.
it's great that we can still do things like this, come together and do this important work together. So, yeah. Thanks for what you're doing, Daniel, you and your team out there. Much needed organization within the greater Church of God network here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, and we'll say goodbye to Dan. Thanks for joining us, and to everyone out there watching and your participation. We thank you for joining us as well, and we'll see everybody next week on another edition of Prove All Things.